So Khalil Mack is now a Los Angeles Charger. That's kind of a surprise. I would not have expected that. What's really interesting about, I think, there's a few things. I guess a lot of ways to talk about this, a lot to unpack here. One of the first things that jumps out at you is the Chargers are giving up a lot less than the Bears gave up to get Mack back when the original trade happened. If you remember, when Mack was traded from the Raiders to the Bears, it cost multiple first-round picks to do so. It was ended up being a little bit less than 2 first-round picks with the rest of the compensation, because the Raiders gave a second back, but then they got a third back, kind of weird stuff there. But basically, okay, you gave up that much capital to get Khalil Mack. Now all you're getting back is just a second and a sixth-round pick. And the second's not exactly like a super high second either. So right off the bat, that's kind of the weirdness that happens right away, right? Why this feels like it's not a great move. However, I think that's a little bit of a sunk cost fallacy, right? You've already given up those draft picks. So now you got to sit here and say, what's the way to help improve your team? Although another interesting thing about this is the way that the contract is currently structured, in that for Khalil Mack, it's not like it's a Carson Wentz situation where if you trade him, the other team takes on all of the cap hit. Currently, you still have $24 million in dead cap from this trade. So while Khalil Mack is currently, his cap number is $30 million, it seems like only about $6 million is actually going to go over for the Chargers for the next year. Now, that's not exactly how that works, but for the most part, for the Bears, you're not actually clearing up that much cap space by making a move like this, which that's definitely an intriguing aspect of all of this. So for the Chargers, I think the first thing is, okay, Chargers have $42 million in cap space. They'll take on a lot of cap space. And for all we know, that still could be the case. You can have some sort of agreement in place that will do some sort of restructure with the contract before that happens. But if that's not the case, you could end up getting a really good player for not that much money. And to me, the most exciting thing about this, the addition of Khalil Mack, everyone's going to talk about, okay, now you have Joey Bosa on one side and Khalil Mack on the other, who can rush the passer really well. Cool, that definitely helps you. You know what else helps you is having another good run defender there. Because let's be honest, the Chargers' run defense was not great. So now having 2 good edge rushers, going to be difficult to run the football, especially get to the outside there. So the Chargers can kind of play their 2 safety deep coverage that they want to play. And it actually might not be the worst thing in the world to do so. So that's another interesting aspect here, is that, and of course, being able to rush the passer well, that's obviously still going to be a benefit for the Chargers, is the ability to be able to rush the passer the way they want to, especially in that division with all of those amazing quarterbacks. You do want to be able to get after the quarterback if you can. So definitely a very, very compelling trade right away. From the Bears' perspective, I think that I don't hate it necessarily. It kind of just confuses me a little bit. I think part of it is maybe they wanted to get more draft capital than this, and they couldn't. So that might be an aspect here. But I guess they just figured, hey, we're not that good right now. Let's save some cap space. And I have to assume, I don't know this, but I have to assume that the Chargers are going to take on more than what the contract currently says they would take on. That just seems logical to me, because if not, I don't really understand this too much. And I'm someone who is traditionally very low on edge rushers in general. And you look at Khalil Mack, honestly, it's kind of weird where we always kind of think about that as like the Raiders, what a horrible decision they made. The Raiders won that trade. Now, they whiffed on all of the draft picks, so I guess I guess both teams lost. But I guess you could argue that the Bears won it because Khalil Mack was very good in 2018 in the double doink year. So maybe if Khalil Mack had, stayed around, or maybe if they had won that game, if that field goal goes through, maybe they go on a run. If they win a Super Bowl, then no one says that the Bears lost it. But again, that didn't happen. The Bears ended up not winning a playoff game. And since then, Mack hasn't really been as dominant as we've seen him in years past. With the Raiders, he was a consistent 10-plus sack guy. He had 1 Defensive Player of the Year with the Raiders, and he was very good in 2018. I think he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but Aaron Donald had 22 sacks that year, so he won it. But since then, 8.5 sacks in 2019, 9 sacks in 2020, and then just 6 sacks in 2021. Now, part of that has been health, but still, availability is a skill. Availability matters. And part of that hasn't been him being completely healthy. So For the Bears, I mean, they're in a rebuild, so getting draft capital by giving away veterans, that's not the worst thing in the world. Khalil Mack, has been 4 years since that trade has happened. It feels like it was just a little bit ago. I remember that's actually the first year I started this YouTube channel. One of the first things I did was talked about how I actually like the trade from the Raiders' perspective to make this kind of move. I don't hate it from the Bears' perspective here. I think I like it from the Chargers' perspective a lot more. You need guys who can stop the run, and it helps when they're also elite pass rushers on top of it. And again, the money situation could be another interesting factor here. But from the Bears' perspective, I guess really what it comes down to for me is this the correct move or is it not? To me, the way I kind of view that would simply just be, well, what are we doing from here on out? I think that there's more questions that need to be answered is probably what I would say, because I think you can make the argument this is the right move if you have other plans in place, but I think we have to see what they're going to do with those plans. I am kind of the belief that I don't love paying $30 million for an elite edge rusher. I've talked about this before. I don't think it's the best strategy because there's a lot of good edge rushers out there, and you can draft someone in the second round that'll be a good edge rusher for you. So it's probably easier to do that. So maybe that's just their logic is you use this second round pick to get an edge rusher who will be cheaper, and then we have more cap space and we have not the same production but maybe similar production. That's probably the logic behind it, but I'm surprised, with how important people view edge rushers. I'm surprised no one gave you more, but I guess it's just an age thing. I guess just, there's a difference between a 27-year-old Khalil Mack and a 31-year-old Khalil Mack. People value that very differently. So Chargers, first domino is starting to fall here. We talked about what are the Chargers going to do in free agency here? What are they going to do with all this cap space that they have, all of the they have some draft capital. They now got a little bit less because of the second round pick. And they obviously have the star quarterback to build around. They added Mike Williams already, or I guess kept Mike Williams already. And they still have some cap space to work with. So the Chargers love this trade from their perspective. Chargers are definitely looking like they are going to be a team to be reckoned with. I mean, man, AFC West, just a crazy situation, right? You have the Broncos adding Russell Wilson, the Chargers adding Khalil Mack. I mean, the Rams are reigning Super Bowl champions right here. You just got the poor Raiders have to be like, I mean, come on, what do we got to do here? We have a good team, but we just can't stand out with the dominance that's going on right now in the AFC West. Khalil Mack returns to the AFC West. That's interesting as well. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting. I guess, what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this trade? Who do you think is coming out ahead? Is it I think my guess is you guys are going to be very much on the pro Chargers camp. I think so as well. I don't hate it from the Bears' perspective, though. I really don't. I get it from both sides. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.